Hello everyone, welcome to TechSharemith. In this session, we are going to talk about another very important topic related to GET API, where we will see how we can handle the GET request for returning a nested objects. Okay, so we all know that on API we might get some data which is in a nested array, right? So in that situation, how we will utilize GET API to get the data. Okay. So to demonstrate this thing, what we will do, firstly I'll show you the output. You can see here we have two headings, Angular course by TechSharemith, get request returning nested objects. Then we have one horizontal row. This is the heading for my comp1 homepage, and then we have fetched the required user detail, which include name, email, city and zip code. Okay, so this is the thing. But the question is, this time whatever information we are fetching here is coming from a nested objects. Okay, so let me show you the API data, actual API data. So this is the data. So here you can see we have address as an object. Object inside object is nested object, right? So we have object inside object. So if you have this type of structure in your API and if you want to access that data inside a address, so how you will write the logic? What would be your approach? These all things we are going to discuss in this particular session, where we will see how to use GET requests for returning nested objects. Okay, but before we proceed further with this session, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released session first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow it sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic. Because for time being, we are just mainly focusing on GET request for returning nested object. But prior to that, we have already covered so many other sessions related to Angular, and they all are in sequence. Okay, so for that you can also refer the TechSharemith digital course book, which is freely available in the description box. There you will find thousands of sessions available in both Hindi as well as English language. So without any language barrier, you can easily consume the content, and in case if you have any queries or questions related to that, then you can simply reach out to me through comment section. There I will be personally helping you to answer all those queries. Okay, alright, so let's get started with the project, and I'll show you the code from a sequential manner. Okay, so first and very important thing is to configure the route file. Okay, because without this we won't be able to make use of API. Let me close this first. Okay, so now you have to open this app.route.ts file. Sorry, not this, app.config.ts file, and here you need to register this provide HTTP client. Okay, this is very important, because if this file is not added, if this part is not added or imported, then it won't allow us to use the API. Okay, once you are done with this provide HTTP client installation, that means configuration, then you are good to use API in your application. Perfect. So this is the one thing. Second thing is, we have created two files, TypeScript file. One is environment TS file and another one is user TS file, and these are the normal TypeScript file, not a component. Okay, so those who have watched the previous session, they know that in environment TS file we have stored the URL of the API. Okay, so this is the URL of the API. So I know like this part would be same for every call, right? We will just change the user ID and detail, right? But rest of the part would be same. So that's why what we did, we created one environment variable, and here in this environment variable I have stored my API URL, the fixed part of my API URL. Clear? Till now there is no question. Now we will move to the users.ts file. Now in this users.ts file, you will see that there is something different from last example. What? In last example we were just using one interface, but here in this example we are using two interfaces. One interface for address that shows city string, zip code string, and another interface user shows ID, number, name string, username string, email string, and address. Okay, that means we have created two objects. Why? Because here for address we know that address is itself a interface. Okay, object inside object. So by providing these information, we are clearly instructing Angular that we are expecting a nested object output. So you have to work accordingly. Clear? So what we did so far, we created firstly we configured app.config.file, then we created two TypeScript file, and in these two TypeScript file we have assigned the URL in the first environment TS file, and in second file we have clearly mentioned the interface for the nested object condition. Now we all know that other than that, whatever API related logic we are going to create will be stored in one component. So if you don't know how to create component, you just need to write here ng serve -open enter. Sorry, not this. This is for executing. You have to create the component, right? So ng for Angular, g generate, c component, and the name of the component would be comp1. So when you press enter on this command, it will automatically create this component for you, which contains 4 files: css, html, spec.ts, and component.ts. Okay, so inside this we are going to write every logic related to API. But we all know that if you want to use any external component, it should be connected to your main component. Okay, and to connect that you need just this information, that is selector. Don't look at the remaining code, that we will discuss later. For now just focus on selector. So when you create your component, you will find this selector. You have to use this selector in your main app.component.ts file and HTML file. How? Let me show you. So you will go for app.component.ts file. Here firstly we will import comp1. Okay, comp1 component is imported, and here we have added it. That means now it is imported, and now you can use that selector in your HTML. So you will simply go to app.component.html. Here you can put the required information, like I put my 2 heading, Angular course by texture myth, get request returning nested objects, 1 horizontal row, and then the selector that will help us to populate whatever output is coming from the comp1 component. Clear? So that means we have connected this comp1 with app.component.html. Perfect. Now we will just look at the API related logic which we have stored in this comp1.component.ts. So here you can see we have imported multiple things. So by the time when you write logic, these things will be imported, and make sure if these are important, otherwise it won't work, like HttpClient, environment, common module, user, and JSON. Okay. Now when you create the component from scratch, you will find this class empty. So inside this you have to write this all logic. So firstly I'm implementing ng on init here. That means on initialization. So on initialization it will automatically, although like we have discussed in detail like what is ng on init, but for now just keep in mind that ng on init is a method that will automatically execute whenever the application loads. Okay, so inside this we will write the logic for API. So for that firstly I'm declaring user not colon user, which will hold the data. Then we created one constructor, private HttpClient. So whenever we want to use HttpClient, we will use the term HTTP. Okay, then ng on init void, and here we are clearly mentioning this dot HttpClient.get user, then parenthesis backquote $environment.api URL. So this API.url is coming from where? Environment.ts file which we created. Then we are specifying user /1.subscribe res. This user is res. So whatever information we are retrieving in res, result parameter will be result or response parameter, it will be stored into this dot user. And now you just need to print it. So for that we will go to component1.html. Here I will write comp1 homepage, user detail, name user.name, email user.email, city user.address.city. Why? Because this is nested condition. This is very important. Okay, so we are fetching user.address.city, user.address.zip code, and when you execute this now, you will see that it is working as expected, as we saw in the initial, right? So when you execute it, it will automatically, let me correct the command, it's ng serve -open enter. Just wait for a few seconds and then it will show you the output in the browser. So we are executing it. Perfect. So now it is ready, and you can see we are getting the required output. In case if you want to change the ID, let's say, so you can simply go here and change the ID. So accordingly it will show you the output. Okay, so now you can see Erwin Howell is the new name and everything is changed. So this is how you can utilize the get API for returning nested objects. I hope the session is clear to all of you. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching TechShareMet.